Alright guys, so this is my second take on making this video. The first time I had problems with the camera, and we're hoping we don't have problems this time. I guess we'll see. The camera was kind of jumpy. It looked like someone was moving the camera. That wasn't the case. It's a problem with the gyro in the camera. But if it's still there, sorry, but the information will be here. If it's fixed, then that's great. I guess I'll know when I go to edit this thing. Anyway, welcome back to the channel. What we're going to be talking about today is flying with a handgun or a firearm. Most of these rules will apply to rifles as well, although I'm going to focus specifically on handguns. There's a few things that I think you guys will need to know. I don't want you to be deterred by the possibility of getting to the airport with a firearm and having any issues. So I'm going to kind of walk you through my experiences. I've been flying for probably 20 years now with firearms fairly regularly. And over the last few months, I had the opportunity to fly on 3 different airlines to 3 different destinations. And I was thinking that I have probably enough experience now that I can put together a video and sort of look at the different experiences I've had with the different airlines, and they're basically pretty much the same. So there is somewhat of some continuity there between the airlines. So I thought I could come and maybe put a video together and help you guys out regardless of what airline that you're flying on. So there are 3 basic things that you will have to consider. One, the FAA rules, and we'll kind of go over those. Those are available on the FAA website, and they are pretty straightforward. But number 2, you're going to have rules with your specific airline. Sometimes those are a little different from FAA rules, and you have to make sure you're in compliance with both. Just because you're following what the FAA says doesn't mean that the airline will let you fly with that firearm on their aircraft. They have their own rules in addition to what the FAA puts out sometimes, so you'll have to follow that as well. And thirdly, and this is an important one as well, a lot of people don't think about, but you're required to follow all laws, state and local, at your destination. So just because you're in compliance with the FAA and just because you're in compliance with your airline doesn't mean that when you land in New York, or if you land in San Francisco, or wherever it is that you're going, that you won't run into problems. You need to make sure that that firearm that you have, the ammunition that you have, the magazines that you have, all of that stuff is going to be compliant where you're landing. So typically, I fly in gun-friendly states and it's pretty straightforward. But if you think you're just going to fly anywhere all across the country and not have any problems, that's not necessarily the case. So it's up to you to make sure that you're in compliance with those rules, state and local. So moving forward, probably the first thing that you're going to do, you're going to arrive at the airport. They're going to go up to the baggage check-in. I typically you will always check a firearm. You're not going to be able to take that on the plane with you. That's going to go below the cabin where your luggage goes. So I keep my case inside my luggage, and I will go up to the receptionist there, and I will say, hey, I have a firearm to declare. That's the first thing that I'm going to say. And they're usually really cool about it. They're going to say, okay, and then they will run you through a process. And that process is going to be pretty straightforward, pretty simple. One, they're obviously going to want to see your ID. They're going to want to see if you have if you've got any other bags. You're going to put your bag up on the scale where they're going to weigh it, and they're going to ask you, they're going to say a few things. They're going to ask you, is the firearm unloaded? So 1, the firearm needs to be unloaded. 2, do you have ammunition with the firearm? And we'll talk about that ammunition and how you're going to store that in a few minutes. Is it in a hard plastic case or a lockable case? It doesn't have to be plastic. It needs to be a hard case that's lockable. And so we're going to go over those as well. You're just going to follow through what they're telling you to do. You're going to answer the questions honestly, and then we'll get more into that procedure in just a minute. Matter of fact, we're going to go ahead and do that right now because I want to show you the case that I have and how I pack that case, along with a couple of other case options, and then we'll talk about this process that you're going to be going through when you run into the receptionist there at baggage check-in. Okay, so you've now arrived at the front baggage check-in, and you've started talking with the receptionist about the fact that you have a firearm to declare. I typically keep my hard lock case inside my luggage, but I know I'm going to have to take that out. So she's typically going to ask a few questions like we mentioned, but I'll go over them again. Is the firearm unloaded? Yes. Is the ammunition in the original box? Yes. Do you have any explosives or anything like that? No, of course not. So she's going to probably want to see the case. So I'll take the case out of my luggage and sit that down. I will have locks like this on the case, and I will typically have the keys in them and have them unlocked because I'm going to have to open this for her. She's going to want to see it. So she's going to say, you know, okay, let's see your locks. Can you go ahead and open the case for me? And typically I will have these locks. She will ask if they're TSA locks, probably, or it may be a he. I just saying she kind of, it typically is a female, not obviously, but they will ask if these are TSA locks. No, I typically don't like TSA locks. I think they're dinky. I don't like them. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. That will be fine, though. That won't be an issue. So open up the case. Typically, I've got things like this. I've got my handgun, which is unloaded. I've got a magazine, which is unloaded. This is really important. Any valuables that you may have. A knife, for example, something that you can't fly on the plane with you, but you want to have with you. A watch, wedding ring, whatever. This is the kind of stuff you have to take off while you're going through the line. You have to put it in that tote that they send through the x-ray machine. It's not really that well supervised. Who knows if this stuff gets missing. So anything of value, I typically will put inside this case because they are going to be aware that there's a firearm in this case, and they are going to want to make sure that this doesn't get loose in the airport. So they will be keeping a close eye on your baggage, and that's sort of a good thing. So at this point, she's probably going to have, she's going to ask again, is your ammunition in the original box? And let me show you what that means. If you've got one of those hard plastic ammunition carriers, which you would think would be a really good idea, that's not going to go with them. They want to see that it's in the original box. So what I've done is I've kind of made this case as a two-tier case. And I've got it cut out here for my box of ammunition. You could have 2 boxes of ammunition if you wanted to, or 3. You could have a small 20-round box if you wanted. It doesn't matter. You set that up how you want. But with this 50-round box, I can carry my firearm, and sometimes I'll put 2 firearms in this case, my wife's and mine, and that's enough ammunition for both of us as well in terms of personal defense, so that works well. If not, or if you got a smaller case, a little 20-round box will work just fine. And when they say the original box, they want to see that it's an ammunition box. Now, if you've got 40 caliber in this 9mm ammunition box, they're not going to know that. That's not a problem. Don't sweat it. If you've got Remington ammunition in this Winchester box, again, it doesn't matter. They're not going to know that, but they want to see that it's some type of factory box. And as long as it is, you are good to go. They don't want ammunition in plastic containers, and they absolutely do not want loose ammunition in a Ziploc bag or something like that. That's not going to go. They're not going to let you fly with that. Most of the time, I'll just say, yes, it's in the original box, and that's all I have to do. They don't need to see it. But if they do want to see it, I can show it to them easy enough. Sometimes they don't even want to see your firearm, which is great. They'll simply say, okay, firearm's unloaded. Yes. You've got ammunition with it. Yes. Ammunition is in the original box. Yes. Okay. Fill out this form, and you can see each one's different. This one's Delta, American Airlines. This one's Southwest. It's going to have your personal information on it, like your return address, maybe a phone number, maybe an email, your flight information. Here you can see I was Flight 980, and it was checked by employee 818096 with a couple of things. You're going to sign off here. This is essentially just saying that you're following the rules. You did what you said you would do. You've declared all the ammunition. It's not any more ammunition's floating around in your baggage somewhere, and that your firearm has been unloaded. That's basically what this little disclaimer is saying. They'll give you this form once you filled it out, and they will usually have you put it inside the case, which is why I say keep the case unlocked and be ready to open it. You'll place it right inside there. You'll close it back up. You'll lock it up. Typically speaking, sometimes they might tape it right on top. That doesn't happen very often, but it has happened before. And hey, that's fine too. It doesn't matter. Now, let's get back to those non-TSA locks. So if you don't have TSA locks, they'll have you go ahead and lock up the case, secure it, put it in your luggage, and keep the keys. But as they send this through, TSA is going to have a look at this, or it's highly likely that they will. they're going to make sure you're within compliance. They might need to get inside this case. That's also possible. Don't worry. With these master locks, they'll get into those, no problem. They have keys for those, but she doesn't know that since they're not TSA locks. So she may tell you, stand by here for an extra 15 minutes. And why she's telling you to do that is so that in case the TSA does stop to look at this case and they do need to get into the case for some reason, they'll just call you and they'll say, hey, Mr. Camp, come over to the TSA area and tell you where it's at. And you'll go over there and they'll say, hey, we need to get into this. And then you've got the keys on you so you can get them in there. Probably not going to happen. I don't remember that ever happening but once, and it was with a rifle. So probably not going to happen, but that's why they're telling you to stand by. I'm actually at the point now, I just typically go on and don't worry about it because I know that they can get into these locks, no problem. And again, these keys will go with you on your person as you fly so that it's secured and it's locked up. Let's talk about cases real quick. I love this case. This is my Pelican 1400. It's got 2 layers of foam. You can get different replacement foam off of eBay, Amazon, wherever. So you can configure this the way that you want to. For 1 firearm, 2 firearms, you can cut the foam out. You can leave the foam solid, doesn't matter. Do it however you want to do it. It's plenty deep for extra ammunition. It's a quality hard case, extremely durable. These lock areas are very well reinforced. It's got a nice handle on it. It's got a pressure valve, and pressure valves are important because as you fly, the aircraft will, it'll pressurize, of course, and you'll develop a pressure inside this case that when you land, because of the rubber O-ring on this case and it's airtight, you might not be able to get this open. Even though you've opened the latches and the locks, it will be pressure sealed tight shut. So simply by opening this valve and purging that pressure, it'll let you get into the case. That's what's nice about these Pelican cases. And this one, again, is a 1400. I really like this case. It's probably my favorite case and my most used case. But let's look at a couple of other cases. So here's a cheapie that I bought. This is called a Black Watch, and I've seen these with different names on them. This is a less expensive case. It sort of looks like a Pelican case. It's one of those things that makes you think it's just as good as a Pelican case. It's not. I've flown with it many times, but I have had issues with it. So it's got foam inside as well, multiple layers. You can see I've already got it cut out here for an ammunition box, like I like to do. And then I can just take that firearm and put it right on this foam and close it up, no problem. But the problem that I do have with it are these little corners where the locks go. And I'm telling you, I've already got some stress cracks on some of these corners here, but I could take this lock right here and I could probably twist this lock really hard and probably break that out. It is so much weaker. It is a weaker plastic and it's a much smaller area to reinforce than my Pelican case. So I thought I was saving a few bucks, maybe $15, $20 by buying this. And although it's been an okay case and it has worked for me, the Pelican case is a lot better. It does have a little pressure valve purge also on it, but I would recommend stay away from this, go for Pelican case. Let's show you another Pelican case that I like. So this is a small Pelican case. This is an 1170. Perfect for 1 firearm, particularly if you've got a smaller firearm. 1 firearm, 1 magazine. This is where your small box of ammunition may come in handy. You can get different foam inserts for this one also. So you could cut this out and set it up however you want. I think this has got 2 layers. Yeah, it does. So you could just take this layer out, put your ammunition here, your handgun, your valuables, your empty magazine, and you'd be ready to go just like that. This isn't really going to work very well for 2 handguns, but it would work fine for 1. And I like traveling with this one too. It's got Pelican case quality, nice, heavy, reinforced lock holes. It's got your purge valve right here, and it's a smaller case, so this will fit in, take up a smaller amount of your luggage space when you're traveling. Also like to have this when I'm on vacation or if I'm traveling somewhere also, because if for some reason I don't have that firearm on me, maybe I'm down at the beach, for example, it's a great place to hold on to your firearm when there's kids around, you know, just to make sure that the kids stay out of it. You can put those locks on there you'll be good to go and have it safe and secured. Same thing with any valuables that you've got. So, weight limit. There is an ammunition weight limit. So if you're going to be taking a training class and you're going to take a couple thousand rounds of ammunition, that may be an issue. Contact the airline and find out what their rules are on that. It's typically been 10 pounds. I know this because they've asked, do you have more than 10 pounds of ammunition? For personal defense, 10 pounds of ammunition is a lot. So the answer for me is always no, because I've got a 20 or 50 round box typically with me. Even if you had 4 50-round boxes, it's not going to be 10 pounds. So you're going to have quite a bit of ammunition to exceed that limit. But if you're going, again, for a training class, for some reason you're trying to take a lot of ammunition, keep that in mind. If you have over 10 pounds, that may be an issue. I'm not sure what to do if you're in that situation. Contact them and find out. Typically for me, when I go training, I will ship the ammunition to my destination where I don't have to deal with having it on an aircraft. Again, this video is more geared towards taking a firearm for personal defense, so you're not going to need that much ammunition anyway. All right, so what do you do once you've landed? You're going to go to baggage claim, because obviously your baggage was checked under the aircraft, and one of a few different things may happen depending on how it goes. Sometimes the person who is unloading the aircraft doesn't realize that there's a firearm in your luggage. It's usually marked, and each airline will have their own type of code. Sort of imagine it having like a red tag or some type of tag on it that will tell the people that are handling that luggage that there is something like a firearm on board. What they should do is that they should route that not through your regular carousel. But sometimes they oversee that and it ends up on the regular carousel. This has happened before, maybe one time out of 10. So what I'll tell you to do is keep an eye on the carousel. That luggage will come up first. So stand with everybody else, watch the carousel unload, and as long as your luggage isn't on there, great. Then the person unloading the plane did what they were supposed to do. But if they happen not to have seen that tag or they weren't paying attention, that luggage may end up on the carousel, and you don't want someone else getting your bag ever, but particularly if you've got a firearm or valuables inside. So keep an eye on the carousel for your bag. Secondly, here's what should happen. What should happen is one of two things. They're either going to send that bag up on oversized baggage. That usually is unloaded last from the aircraft. So again, you've already checked the carousel, nothing there. Usually somewhere near the carousel, there will be a conveyor that comes up with oversized luggage. Things like surfboards, golf clubs, rifle cases particularly, and possibly your baggage with your handgun inside. You can always ask, and this is the first thing that I do before the carousel even starts up, as soon as I get the baggage claim, find someone who works there and just say, hey, where will my luggage come if I have a firearm declared inside? And they'll tell you. They'll either say they'll either say it's oversized baggage, or they'll say that it's going to a different office. And that different office, they'll point you where it is. It's usually near the carousels. Someone or more than one people will be working inside. You can go inside there and say, hey, I've got a firearm coming up. They'll go, no problem. Just wait here and we'll let you know when it gets here. What will happen is when that guy's unloading the plane, again, he'll do oversized baggage last. He'll then take your baggage, and he may bring your luggage straight up to that office. He's going to hand it to them in person. They're probably going to ask to see your driver's license so they can verify it's your luggage. They'll match your identification, your name, with the identification on your luggage, and you'll be on your way. So those are really the three scenarios I've ran into over the last 20 years, and most likely it's going to either be oversized baggage or it's going to go to the little office where any type of special luggage goes to. And again, what ends up in that office is like luggage that was left behind, luggage that wasn't claimed, luggage that was put on the wrong plane, different things like that. So where they're handling any special luggage issues. But you can go to an employee and say, hey, I'm flying with a firearm. Do you know where that luggage will come up? And they'll point you in the right direction. That's the first thing that you should do. And just know, if you're traveling with a party of other people, that their luggage is going to come up first and they're going to have to wait on you. That's just the way it is. So I hope that you found this video helpful, and I hope that some of you are now encouraged to go out, fly off your firearm, exercise your Second Amendment rights, be safe, protect your family, and have a good experience doing it that is drama-free. So if you like these types of videos, I'll have more coming. I don't spam too many videos very often, but I try to keep it all related to firearms, firearms ownership, that type of thing. So I'd appreciate a subscription on my channel if it's something that you're into, a little thumbs up if you like the video, and you guys have a good afternoon.